In this video, I'll show you the 6 most common retargeting mistakes that I see again and again in e-commerce Google Ads and how to fix them. Do retargeting the right way and it should be one of your highest ROI campaigns in Google Ads. But make one of these 6 common mistakes that I'm going to show you today and it can end up wasting budget, missing out on easy revenue, and running at a much lower performance level than you deserve. So stay tuned because I'm going to show you the right bid strategy to use, how to segment your audiences like a pro, the one most important setting to enable, and a whole lot more. If you're new here, hi, I'm Daryl and I've run a Google Ads agency called Big Flare for over 12 years now. I've audited literally hundreds of e-commerce Google Ads accounts and distilled all the most common retargeting mistakes into today's video. All right, with that said, let's dive into e-commerce retargeting mistake number 1. Let's start with the biggest one, not running dedicated retargeting campaigns at all. A lot of businesses just rely on Performance Max and assume it's handling their retargeting perfectly well enough. The thing with PMax is that it does include some retargeting, but it doesn't do it anywhere near as well as a dedicated standalone retargeting campaign would. Performance Max is a jack of all trades campaign. It does a little bit of everything within Google Ads, but for most of the elements inside PMax, like retargeting, it doesn't do it anywhere near as well as a dedicated campaign. And what I found is that when we add dedicated retargeting campaigns on top of Performance Max, those consistently perform better, often getting 100 to 200% higher return on ad spend. So do let Performance Max continue to run in the background because it will do some retargeting, and it works well as a catch-all campaign. But for the best overall return on ad spend, also add your own dedicated display retargeting campaign on top. That way you cover both bases. PMax as a backup, and then your dedicated retargeting campaign as the main driver of performance in your account from retargeting. Let's run through a quick tutorial so you can see how to actually set up a dedicated display retargeting campaign in your account. All right guys, so what you want to do is come to the plus button over here from the main campaign screen and then click New Campaign. And to set up a retargeting campaign, let's choose the sales objective first of all. Make sure the correct conversion goals are represented down here. Normally we're just going to want to use purchasers, and we probably don't want to be paying for phone calls, so let's remove that one. So make sure you are just focused on purchases and then click Continue. And then you're going to select your campaign type, and this is where you can hit display because we're making a display retargeting campaign. And then down here, put in your homepage URL. All right, so let's put in my URL here. So don't worry about putting in a more accurate landing page URL. You can just put in your homepage here because later on when you're making ads, you can send them to a specific URL. Or if you're running dynamic ads, it's just the system's going to know which product page to send your traffic to. So don't worry too much about this URL bit here. You can just put in your homepage URL, and at the ad stage later, it's going to be able to customize which URL the traffic actually gets sent to. So here under name, put display. That's how I normally like to name my retargeting campaigns. You can feel free to do something different if you so wish. And I'm creating a new campaign. It's just asking me if I want to go back to a draft. I don't, so let's start new. You might not see that window. Okay, so campaign settings. Let's make sure you're targeting the right country. Make sure you're targeting the right language. And nope, we don't have political ads. So I'm just going to tick that we don't have political ads. And then this is important under more settings. Click on this More Settings button here, and then come down to here where it says Dynamic Ads and make sure this is ticked. And I am going to explain this and talk about this a bit later in the video. So let's attach our feed for Dynamic Ads and then click Next. Budget and bidding. So let's just put in an example budget of 50. And then for bidding, you want to put conversion value here, so focus on conversion value, and then don't tick this box. Leave this box blank for now if you're setting this campaign up as a new campaign, if you're not already experienced with retargeting. So let's go and click Next. And then you want to select your targeting, so click Add Targeting, and from the targeting section, click on where it says Audience Segments. And then now you've got your audience segments here, which you can browse. So browse over to your data segments. So under browse, you want to choose here where it says how they've interacted with your business, your data segments, and then in here choose website visitors, and then you're going to see a list of all your retargeting audiences, and hang around till just later in the video where I'm going to talk about exactly what audiences to actually set up. But for now, let's just select a couple of example audiences to target. And by the way, another pro tip here is that Google might auto create some of these audiences for you. These are actually the auto created audiences by Google, and I highly recommend you don't use those. Follow the process in this video to set up your own audiences, because the auto created audiences from Google often don't work properly, or they miss people, or they just like don't have anyone in them. So yeah, they're often broken, and I recommend you create your own audiences. And don't worry, I'm going to show you how in this video. Optimized targeting, this one definitely turn off. If you leave this button on, then your retargeting campaign is not going to be retargeting. Google's going to then expand it and do loads of cold traffic. So definitely untick this optimized targeting. And then that's all you need for targeting, really. So let's go over to next. Next up, you're going to have to create your ads. So I'm not going to do the whole process with you today, but I'll just let you know that you basically just need to fill in all this stuff here. So input the best URL for sending traffic to for your ads, business name, fill that in, add as many images as you can. You can go up to 15 images, add your logos, add videos if you have them. Headlines, add as many headlines as you can. Descriptions, add as many descriptions as you can. And then you've covered most of the main stuff that you need to set up within your ad at this time. And then you can click on create ad here, which I'm not actually going to do right now because I'm just doing this as an example. Once you've created your ad and filled in all this stuff up here, you can click next. You'll go to the review screen. It might show some errors for me because I was just doing this as an example, but make sure there's no errors for you. If you do see errors, like here it's saying, oh, actually create your ad. So make sure there's no errors, and then you can click the create button, which I'm not actually seeing here because I've got some errors. But when you do this and when you don't have errors, you have a create button down here, and you can just click to then enable your retargeting campaign. Next mistake, forgetting to attach your product feed. Without a Google Merchant Center product feed, you're not running true dynamic retargeting. And that's where the best results in retargeting actually come from for e-commerce companies. Dynamic ads show shoppers the exact products they viewed or left in their cart, and that's what really gets them to come back and buy. Without dynamic ads switched on, you're showing the same creative to everyone, and it's not being customized at all based on what products they actually are interested in. So make sure your ads are dynamic. To do that, you need to attach your Google Merchant Center data feed when creating your Google retargeting campaigns, and then enable dynamic ads in the settings. So here's how to do it. First, a quick pre-check. In your Google Ads account, go to Tools, and then select Data Manager, and then make sure your Google Merchant Center is actually linked to Google Ads. If it isn't linked, you won't see your feed later on. So make sure it's linked and that your product feed inside Google Merchant Center is set up and working fully. Now, when you create your display retargeting campaign, in the main campaign's settings where you choose location and language, you will find the tab for dynamic ads. Expand it and then check the Use Dynamic Ads feed for personalized ads button. Select your data feed, and if you have more than one feed, like we do here, pick the product feed you actually want to use. Now, once you've ticked that box in the settings, congratulations, your remarketing ads are now dynamic, and they have the ability to show the exact products a user was viewing when they were on your website. Alright, so now let's talk about bidding strategies, because this is one I see people messing up all the time. Here's the thing, Google gives you a whole menu of bidding options, which you can see right here, and if you pick the wrong one at the wrong time, it can completely kneecap your campaign before it even had a chance to get going. A classic mistake is starting with a click-focused bid strategy like manual CPC or maximize clicks. I get it, it feels safe, you think you're keeping control, limiting Google from bidding crazy high cost per clicks, but in pretty much all cases, a click-focused bid strategy like these will deliver you more clicks, but less actual revenue than a conversion-focused strategy. So avoid manual CPC or maximize clicks, and keep to the conversion-focused bid strategies. Now, within the conversion-focused bid strategies, you've got options to maximize conversions, maximize conversion value, run a target CPA, or run a target ROAS. All of these options are somewhat viable, but technically target ROAS is probably the best one. But, and this is a big but, using target ROAS right from the start of your new retargeting campaign is not the play. It can be too limiting at the start and can strangle your volume. Instead, Avoid target ROAS at the beginning and run with the maximize conversion value bid strategy. If you're setting up your retargeting campaign for the very first time, the options might look a little bit different, so here's how it looks if you're in the new campaign setup screen. If this is what you're seeing, then what you want to do is tell Google to focus on conversion value. And then you want to leave this box over here for set a target return on ad spend unticked. Once your retargeting campaign is running on maximize conversion value with no target ROAS, you can leave it with this bid strategy setting for a while. If and when you get 50 plus conversions in the campaign, ideally within a 30-day time period, then you can switch over to target ROAS. Mistake number 4, poor audience segmentation. Not all visitors are the same. Someone who just came to your homepage and then bounced straight away is very different from someone who added an item to their cart or who looked at 10 different products. But many advertisers put them all into one audience and then they just target one big all visitors audience with no segmentation, and then they wonder why their retargeting performance is so weak. So instead what you want to do is actually segment your website audience based on how hot of a prospect they are. Time windows matter too. If you only target people from the last 24 hours, they're going to be hotter prospects, sure, but the audience will be really small. If you go out to 180 days, your audience is going to be much bigger, but you might end up showing ads to people who already stopped caring. So let's see how you should create and segment your audiences properly. I'm going to show you how to create an audience segmentation first, and then I'll talk about strategy. From your main campaign screen here in Google Ads, go to Tools over here on the left-hand sidebar, and then under Shared Library, you'll find Audience Manager. Click the plus button to create a new audience, and then select Website Visitors. Give your audience a descriptive name, so for this audience, I'll call it Product Viewers 30 Days. You can leave customer type empty for now. For segment members, choose Visitors of Web Pages. Include people who have taken the following action, and the action is web page visit in the past 30 days. This means anyone who visits the page will stay on this list for 30 days after their visit. Now let's set the rule for which visitors we actually want. Click on the Refine action, and from the drop-down menu, select Page URL and select Contains, and then I'm going to write /product. This is now going to capture everyone who visits a product page. Now, an important strategy, which I will explain in a moment, is to exclude the higher intent audiences. In the case of my product viewers, I'm going to exclude people who viewed the cart or who made a purchase previously. So I'll add the exclusions right here. Click Add Action and make sure it's a web page visit action. Click on Refine and then choose Page URL Contains. And then for this example, I'll write /cart. To exclude people who already made it into my cart. And now if I also want to exclude previous buyers, I'll click the Add Action again, make sure it's a web page visit, Refine Action, choose Page URL Contains, and then I'll write /thank_you, and then that's going to exclude people who already bought. Now keep in mind, the URL rules that I'm using here are just an example. These examples will actually work with a default Shopify setup, but if you have anything other than a default Shopify setup, then you'll need to check your website structure and enter the correct URL rules that actually match your website. So you can choose to pre-fill the audience with people who match the rules within the past 30 days so that the list fills faster. If needed, you can add an additional description about this audience segment right here. Okay, now click Create Segment. You'll now see this audience in Audience Manager. It can take 24 to 72 hours for Google to fill the list before it's ready to be used in your campaigns, so do take note of that. Now what you want to do is follow that same process to create audience segments for the following audiences: homepage viewers, category page viewers, product page viewers, cart abandoners, previous purchasers, and then it's also a good idea to have an all visitors audience as a sort of catch-all bucket. For each of these audiences, when setting them up, make sure to exclude the audiences that have higher intent. So for example, for the homepage audience, I would exclude category page, product page, cart abandoners, and previous buyers. For category page, I would exclude product page, cart abandoners, and previous buyers. For product page, exclude cart abandoners and previous buyers. And then for cart abandoners, of course, just exclude previous buyers. And then for your catch-all, target all visitors but exclude all the other audiences. In terms of membership duration, how long they should be part of the list, it's good to have longer durations as the audience gets hotter. Maybe your homepage audience is only 3 to 7 days because these visitors are less warm if they've never made it to one of your next pages. Category page, you might do, say, 14 days. Product page might be 30 days. Cart abandoners are really hot potential buyers, so you could do like 60 or even 90 days here. Previous purchasers will be dependent on your product and your store. For example, if you have a supplements brand where people come back and rebuy every 1 to 2 months, you might want to set a 60-day time frame. Whereas if you have a business where people generally never come back and rebuy, it's a sort of one-time thing, you might not want to target previous buyers at all. For the catch-all bucket, this is normally lower intent users, but also the catch-all is supposed to catch anything that got missed, so you might go with 30 days here. When you segment and target your audience like this, instead of just running one big all visitors audience in retargeting, you'll be able to bid more and target longer and harder when someone is a really hot prospect, and you'll waste less money on weaker prospects who are not going to come back and convert. Trust me, your return on ad spend and overall performance in Google Ads will thank you for doing this. By the way, if you need a team of true Google Ads experts to come in and just run all your Google Ads for you, retargeting, cold traffic, and everything else in between, then look no further than my agency, Big Flare. We've generated over $150 million in revenue from Google Ads for our clients, and we've helped literally hundreds of e-commerce businesses across the USA, UK, and Australia to scale with paid traffic in Google Ads. We're a small team and run a fully customized service. There's no cookie cutters involved. So capacity is limited, but at the time of recording this video, we do currently have 2 slots available for new clients. So get in touch right away if you do need our help. There's a link in the description below this video. Click on that, and then on the next page, you can book a time to talk with me via Zoom, and we can explore if we're a good fit. All right, with that said, let's get back to my retargeting tips. Even if you segment your audiences, there's still another mistake connected to the audience, and that is using the same ad creatives for everyone. Cart abandoners, product viewers, past buyers, if they all see identical ads, engagement will be low and your return on ad spend will never be as high as it could have been if you added some variety into your creative messaging. The key is to build creatives based on the audience you're speaking to. Cart abandoners and product viewers might react strongest to dynamic product ads with the exact items they left behind. Category page viewers might react well to testimonials, reviews, or comparisons. Previous buyers? Well, showing them cross-sells, upsells, or loyalty offers can work wonders. While it's definitely good to have these different types of retargeting creative, tailored to different specific audiences, one thing I wouldn't do here is to try and then dictate to Google which creative to show to each audience. Instead, what I would do is allow Google to show every type of creative to any of your retargeting audiences and let Google decide which user should see which creative. Google has a vast amount of data on its users, and it does have a really good ability to select the right kind of creative for each individual user. So yes, do have these different styles of retargeting creative to cater to different people and whatever pushes their buttons. But don't try to go into hyper control mode and try to tell Google what creative to show and to whom. Instead, think of it like you're giving Google a nice wide menu of creatives for it to choose from. For each user that crops up, Google's going to choose the tastiest dish for them based on what it knows about their behavior and preferences. Now let's talk about a mistake that isn't really about settings or strategy in Google Ads, but it's more about mindset, and that's quitting too early. I see this happening a lot. A business launches a retargeting campaign, gives it a week or two, doesn't see the sales they hope for, and then shuts it down. Totally understandable, I get it, nobody likes spending money without immediate results. But this is one of the fastest ways to kill a campaign that could have been highly profitable for you if it was just given more time. The thing with retargeting is your audience will always be smaller than prospecting. You're only targeting people who have already been to your site, so the conversion data is going to trickle in much more slowly. It simply just takes longer to get enough data to make smart decisions here. And if you're looking at just a week of results, what you're really seeing is noise. 1 or 2 conversions can swing your ROAS massively on a short-term view, and that doesn't necessarily mean the campaign is failing. The smarter play here is to zoom out. Look at least 30 days of data, ideally 60 plus, before you start making any judgment calls. That way the numbers have time to settle into something more meaningful. Even with big stores that drive a lot of traffic, retargeting will always generate fewer conversions than cold traffic. It's lower volume, but higher efficiency. And that means patience is key. So resist the urge to panic if results don't look great in the first week. Don't quit too early, let the campaign breathe, let it gather data, and give it the chance it needs to prove itself. If it's set up right, retargeting will nearly always be one of your highest ROAS campaigns, but only if you stick with it long enough to actually get there. And here's a bonus tip that can save you a bit of money and protect your brand reputation. When you're running big promotions or sales, make sure you exclude recent buyers from your retargeting campaigns. Think about it, nothing annoys a customer more than buying full price today and then seeing 30% off tomorrow. That's how you end up with support tickets asking for refunds, complaints on social media, or worse, customers who just feel burned and never come back. The fix is really simple. Create an audience of purchasers from, say, the last 7 to 14 days, and then exclude them from your sales retargeting ads. That way, people who have just bought aren't hit with discounts right after they checked out. You'll save wasted ad spend, avoid frustration, and keep those customers feeling good about their purchase. It's a small adjustment, but it makes your remarketing smarter and avoids customer service headaches. That covers it for today on retargeting mistakes to avoid. And now that you've ironed out your retargeting strategy, it might be time to give your shopping campaign a ROAS boost. So check out this video up here where I cover the one setting you can tweak in shopping ads to reliably give yourself a sizable profit boost in Google. It's a really simple optimization, and you are going to want to know how to do it if you are running e-commerce Google ads. So check it out up here. Hope to see you on the next one.